Hello and welcome back to another week of the Korean Beauty Show podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Lee, K-beauty expert, founder of online Korean beauty platform Style Story, and of course your guide to the world of K-beauty, coming to you live from the home of K-beauty, Seoul, South Korea. And I am very pumped to have you here with me for another week of the show. I will let you know in advance that this will be the last week for a couple of weeks, and that is because I have something very exciting that I am doing. I have the wedding of one of my family members from my host family who I lived with when I was a student in Italy. So I will be going to Italy for 2 weeks this Saturday. So I am really excited about that. So for those of you who didn't know, I don't know if I've ever even mentioned this on the show before because it's not really an Italian beauty podcast. It is a Korean beauty podcast. But when I was a teenager, when I was 17, I moved to Italy for a year and I lived with an Italian family in Italy. And I became extremely close to my host family and particularly my host's sister. And we have kept in touch through many years. It's been, I think I lived there in 2005, so a very long time ago now. And my sister is getting married. So I am really excited to be going back. I have not been able to go back to Italy for a couple of years. I'm heading back to Naples for her wedding, and the whole family is coming with me, everyone except the dog. So we are just going to be enjoying a bit of time with family. And so I'm going to take a little break from podcasting for those 2 weeks. So hopefully, I know a couple of people have said to me that they are quite behind, now that we're doing the 2 episodes a week. So hopefully that will give people a chance to catch up on some of the old episodes if you haven't listened to them already. If not, I will be out of your ears for about 2 weeks. But I will be back in your ears when I get back, hopefully very nice and refreshed. So I'm really looking forward to that, but I will just give you the heads up. So this Thursday's episode will be the last just for 2 weeks, and then I will be back in your ears again. So for this week's K-beauty news headlines, now the first one that I had was a conversation actually that was going on in the Korean news. This was an opinion piece that I found, and basically talking about whether the lack of female executives in K-beauty companies is actually spelling trouble for the competitiveness of Korean beauty. So why has this kind of all come about? Obviously, it is no secret that Korea's gender equality index is really bad. It's one of the lowest among the OECD countries. In general, inequality between men and women in Korea is still a massive problem. And, coming from an outsider's perspective, I guess, as a foreigner living in Korea, I can say that I was really shocked at how antiquated a lot of the attitudes are towards women here, particularly women in positions of power. It is still not uncommon or noteworthy or, surprising if a woman quits working altogether when she has a baby. And that to me was kind of mind-blowing, just because, I guess the conversation where I'm from has moved on to, things like, well, how do we help women better transition into motherhood and working at the same time? And what kind of support systems do we need in place to have that happen? And in Korea, it's just not there yet. And it's not even really a conversation. I can't count how many times I've heard things like, well, if you take maternity leave, then that just makes it harder for the rest of the people that are left at work. So can you reconsider whether you want to take maternity leave or not? Conversations like that, for a lot of people will just be like, what is this 2022? So that is kind of the backdrop to all of this. And I mentioned a little while ago that we now have a new president in Korea. Yoon Suk-yeol is his name. He is very conservative president. That was the platform that he was elected on. And basically he has argued that he is going to abolish Korea's Ministry of Gender Equality and Family because he thinks that Koreans need to hire talent based on ability without discriminating between men and women. It is probably unsurprising that Korea's female voters, particularly those in their 20s and 50s, 20s through to 50s, did not have a high turnout for this president. So a lot of the female voters in that age group are raising objections to some of his policies. And this particular opinion piece was basically saying that despite the overwhelming majority of users of cosmetics being female, in Korea's cosmetic companies, there is a glass ceiling for women. So in 2021, there were no female executives at all in a lot of the major cosmetic companies, including Leaders Cosmetics, Hyundai Bioland, Sewa PNC, Prostemix. Lots of different companies were listed. There was one woman in Korean cosmetics with the company Hangukwha Jangpum. There were two people in Zenik, but they were insignificant in terms of the amount of executives that are in those companies. And the opinion piece was basically saying, well, look, you need to think about, it's not just a matter of having the women there. Company structures that don't consider women, who are the real users of cosmetics, is actually an issue for the competitiveness of the companies themselves. And that is because the cosmetics that are made by male executives for women end users are not going to be the same as the ones that women would make for themselves. And they pointed out that in many export-oriented brands, so Korean companies that are looking to take their products overseas, even after they've obtained foreign certifications for export to places like China and the EU, they haven't made progress. And what they were saying is that it's actually really important that products are made that actively reflect women's opinions on the products because they are the actual people using them. And so if this quota system for female executives is abolished along with the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family, this could actually be a major crisis for some domestic Korean cosmetic companies. So I thought that that was really, really interesting point because I know a lot of people, even in Australia and in the States, there can be, discussions about, well, shouldn't it be on merit? Shouldn't the best man or woman for the job take the position? Why do we need to have quotas in place? But in really traditional conservative societies or places where men have traditionally been on the boards of, bigger companies, if you don't have quotas, then it's just the same people that keep on coming through. So I thought that was really, really interesting in the sense that, if there is a man in charge, then what are the kind of products that men are making for women? Like, who is making that decision? I think the other really, really key point of this when it comes to, a Korean context is how hierarchical Korea is. So in some other countries, even if you had all men at the top of the company, if there is a culture where you can have fearless and frank discussion and be open and maybe critical of the company, critical of the people above you, and they listen to that, it might not be such a big problem. But in Korea, it does not work like that. People cannot criticize the people above them. It is definitely inbuilt into the power. The higher you are at the top, the more power you have, and you will find that people just say yes to the people at the top. So even if someone at the top has an idea that everyone else thinks is really bad, just because that person is more senior than you, a lot of people will just go, yep, yes sir, okay, no problem, we will make that product, or we will, execute that policy. So particularly in a Korean context, it can actually have some pretty significant ramifications. So I thought that was really, really interesting. I would love to know if any of you have opinions on things like this. I think this is a particularly Korean problem, particularly because of how hierarchical the structure is. And if there aren't, mechanisms in place to ensure that some women get to the top, then I don't know how this is ever supposed to change either, is the other thing that sort of occurred to me as I was reading the piece, simply because of how many women are taken out of the workforce when they have kids. And I mean, less and less women in Korea are choosing to have children because of issues like this. They're just saying, it's just too hard, I'm not going to do it. And the birth rate has plummeted because of that. And so, it's kind of at a bit of a stalemate. Like, surely the answer is not just that everyone doesn't have children. Otherwise, that's going to, cause a whole lot of problems of its own. Something in society actually needs to change to overcome, the limitations of this kind of structure where everyone at the top is a man. So I thought that was really, really interesting. I'm happy to see that there are conversations like that going on. And so, I just thought that was one that I would like to share with you guys for this week's news headlines segment, because that was a really, really interesting one. I don't think we've had anything like that before. The other one that might be of interest to some people is that the company One Thing has actually been acquired. A majority stake has been acquired by Aekyung Industries. So it is safe to say that this is no longer an indie beauty brand or a brand that's sort of, on its own in terms of building itself up. Aekyung is a huge corporation in Korea. They have signed a contract to acquire a 70% stake in One Thing, which is worth 14 billion won. And what they've said is that they are planning to strengthen their portfolio of cosmetic businesses, secure digital competitiveness in the global market. Obviously, One Thing has been making a bit of a splash recently. It only launched in 2019, so this is still a really young brand if you think about it. That is not that long ago. So already they have grown. They've had high growth in Japan, in China, in the US, and Southeast Asia. If you're not familiar with the brand, we've actually got it on the Style Story website. We've got a bunch of their products, and what they do is they focus on core ingredients, and the brand concept is to provide value to the customers by excluding unnecessary, marketing expenses, price increases, and things like that, and just focus on these really trending core ingredients. So centella, heart leaf, mugwort, things like that. And they have also been recently expanding and increasing their lineup of products. So that is an interesting acquisition. I will be watching out to see if that happens. Usually what happens, and this has happened in the case of some other, really successful and cheap startups that I can think of. CosRx, for example, when they first launched, were really, really cheap. And as they've grown, and they also, I seem to remember them having, some sort of a brand philosophy around keeping the products cheap because they weren't spending on marketing expenses. And anyone that looks at the brand now knows that they must spend up big on marketing because they have a lot of really, really famous Korean celebrities promoting the brand. They're in all these different countries. And you will also notice that they've redone pretty much all of their original lineup of products, and the new ones are all a lot more expensive. So I will be interested to see if One Thing goes down that route as well. Obviously, when a company like this gets acquired, the people that have spent the money to acquire it want to see profit. They want to see results. So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep the prices down as low as they are. They seem to have some issues, I think, on the Korean side with distribution and trying to sort of cap their distribution. And I think that that's because of how cheaply the products are priced. So that'll be an interesting one to follow along. But suffice to say that One Thing has a new owner, and that is Aekyung Industries. So that sort of is rounding off the headlines for this week. I hope that you enjoyed some of them. And for this week's question of the week, our listener asked, I noticed on last week's anti-aging episode that when you were going through all of the different treatments, you didn't mention fillers. Don't Koreans get fillers? That's a really interesting pickup. And that's true. We did not speak about fillers among the many, many different things that Koreans, are, I guess, trying out at the moment. All kinds of different things, from the salmon DNA injections, the thread lifts, the HIFU, stem cells, even things like that. Facial fillers don't really feature. And I think this is why. I think that because a lot of fillers have the side effect that they puff up the face and make it look bigger, I think that's one of the main reasons that Koreans don't really go for it. And that is because Koreans prize having a small face. A small face is a symbol of beauty. You might have heard of the V-line face and seen products that claim that they can get you a V-line. Having a small face shape that is tapered towards the end at the chin is the standard of beauty in Korea. And I think you probably will have seen, if you're familiar with facial fillers, things like hyaluronic acid and things like that, particularly when they are overdone, whoever's done it can just look really, really puffy in the face and a little bit bloated. So I think fillers are definitely more of a Western thing. I think they're more popular in places where the Instagram face is a bit more trending, maybe like the Kardashian look, which is just not the case in Korea. Now, I have noticed that a lot of girls, younger women in their 20s, are going for the lip fillers more and more these days, but I think that's where the filler obsession kind of ends. I know filler is used here to do things like a nose job, a non-surgical nose job to augment the nose and make the nose bridge look higher, but in terms of facial fillers for anti-aging, this is just my guess, but I think that that's why they are just not that popular. I think it's because the chances of it puffing things up, I'm not saying that people wouldn't get little bits of filler, for the under eye area or things like that, but I don't think there's the focus on like the chipmunk cheek look or blowing up the cheeks or anything like that, like there is in other countries. So I hope that answers your question. That's just what I've noticed. So yeah. That is facial fillers, I guess, that people may or may not be getting here in Korea. Now, over to the Style Story website, where we have some new Korean beauty releases. The first one is Missha's Time Revolution Night Repair Mini Set. So I know that a lot of people are really, really keen to try the Time Revolution products, because this is one of Missha's signature lines. It has been for years, particularly the essence, the serum, the moisturizer, very, very popular products. This is it, but in a little mini size kit. So you can essentially try them out before you go and buy the full size, so you can work out whether they are right for you or not. The kit contains the ProBio Ampoule, which is 10 mils, and then the Ampoule Cream, which is 7 mils. So they're really cute. They basically look like tiny miniature versions of the full size. So this is from their Pro Ferment line. It is using fermented ingredients, 10 types of probiotics, and these are really, really great options for people that have mature skin, dull skin, dry skin, maybe fine lines. If you're looking to give yourself a dewier, suppler, and clearer complexion, this is a great little set for you to try out and see whether you like this line. One thing I will say, when it comes to fermented products and ingredients, they don't agree with absolutely everyone. People that love them absolutely love them, but for some people they can cause issues. So if you are the kind of person that does sometimes have, reactions to products or whatnot, then this little mini set is going to be a really, really good way to make sure that you don't waste a whole lot of money. So go and check that out if that sounds like you. The other new release that we have on the website this week is from One Thing. So the one and the same that just made it into the news. And this is their hyaluronic acid essence. So this product, like their other products, it comes in the same bottle. It's the same size, 150 mils. And what they've done is they've tried to combine, as is their brand concept, a high percentage to deliver the maximum results, and they've included both a low and high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. So again, this is going to be a good option for people who are wanting to try hyaluronic acid or who like hyaluronic acid but maybe have a bad reaction to products that have lots and lots of different ingredients in them. If you are someone that is sensitive to a whole lot of different things, this might be a good one to try, just because of how short their ingredients lists are. Now, when it comes to short ingredients lists, some people will tell you that that's always a good thing. I don't actually think that's true. I think formulation matters a whole lot more. But if you are the type of person that just reacts poorly to a whole lot of different things, then obviously a product that has fewer things that you could potentially react to is going to be a good option. So keep a lookout for that if you are wanting something that can help moisturize your skin, give you that nice plumping effect. It is nice and cheap and cheerful. And the other thing that I will say, guys, is if you've ever shopped on our website before, you will know that the currency, we have lots of different currencies that you can take a look at the prices in. So for example, if you're shopping in the US, it should just automatically come up in USD, but then our base currency that we use to set all of our prices is in Australian dollars. Well, the bad news for us is that the Australian dollar has tanked at the moment. So what used to be a lot sort of more similar to the US dollar is now very, very different. So we had a promotion on our website last week, which was basically spend $100 and save 10%. And when I was calculating what that was in US dollars, it was like 65 US dollars. So if you are looking for a bargain because of the exchange rate, now is a really good time to go and shop on the Style Story website. We obviously ship our products all over the world. We've got a lot of customers in Europe and the US, but particularly at the moment when the Australian dollar is basically worthless, now is a really good time to go and grab a bargain, because all the base currency that we charge all of our products in is in Australian dollars. So you will reap the benefit basically of the Australian dollar not being worth very much. I just thought I would flag that if any of our customers from the US have been looking for a great deal, that would be a great deal just because of how bad the Australian dollar is doing. So that's sad for me, but good for you. So we've also had a whole lot of new K-beauty product reviews come through. The first one actually was from one of our customers in the US, and she gave 5 stars to Lanesia's lip sleeping mask. She said, "I love this lip sleeping mask. My lips get dry and cracked easily, and I'll put this on at night and wake up with nice soft lips in the morning. The scent is pleasant, but it doesn't leave a taste, which is nice. I will definitely buy it again when this one is gone." Thank you so much for your review. And again, this product, so popular. I love it. It's been in my routine for years. I'm really glad that you are enjoying it as well. The second review was all the way from Germany, and this was a 5-star review for Applebee's pink sheet mask. And our reviewer said, "This sheet mask is really so good. Whenever I use a sheet mask in our region, the Western style, my skin gets pimples and irritation. When you put on this mask, it unifies with your skin. After using it, your skin feels so hydrated and all the red spots disappear, even the day after." And then the final review was a 5-star review from one of our Aussies, and she was reviewing Jellicoe Bubble Tea Steam Cream. She said, "Great product. This feels amazing, soft, and so moisturized on the skin. Love it." So nice and short and sharp. So thank you so much to everyone that did leave a product review. If you have purchased recently, make sure you leave yours, because you can earn points, and points can be redeemed as cash. So if you are on our website, if you're scrolling around on our homepage, you might notice a little green gift icon or a present icon. If you click on that, that tells you everything you need to know about our rewards program. But basically we give you lots of points for doing things like leaving a photo with your review, for leaving a review in the first place. And then the next time you shop, you can get money off your purchase. So that is just our way of thanking you for spreading the K-beauty love and sharing your thoughts with everyone. But that's a really great way to save some money. And the good news is, if you have previously shopped with us but haven't left a review yet, we have a record of all of the things you've previously bought, so you can go and do that and just collect all the points all at once. That is totally fine, totally okay. A lot of people do it. So make sure that you are not leaving any money or points on the table, and leave your product reviews. That is my appeal to you, and in return, we will give you money off your next purchase. Now, to round off today's episode, we have the recommendation of the week. And it occurred to me on last week's episode that I mentioned a show that I just sort of assumed that so many people already would have seen, because I know how popular it is overseas, but I've never mentioned it before last week. So that show is a Korean reality TV show, and it is called The Return of Superman. And if you have never heard of it before, basically this is the concept. They get celebrity dads, and they are left to care for their kids alone without their wife or anyone else to help them for 48 hours. So basically the wives take off, they are whisked away to somewhere, nice, I don't know, and then the dads and the kids are filmed to see what happens in, over the next 2 days. So it is a really, really, really popular show in Korea, also outside Korea. The celebrities on the show have featured everyone from like football players, actors, TV personalities. I think there was some type of wrestler or MMA. I'm not too familiar with sort of the punching sports, but it was someone like that. He was one of the first people. I remember watching it many years ago, but this show has made celebrities of a lot of the people on it, including the kids. Like a lot of the kids that have featured on the show now have like their own TV shows, their own product endorsements. I mean, whether you think that's a good idea or not for kids to have all this stuff, I will leave that up to you. But this is a really, really popular show. It is, who I would suggest it for is probably people that don't have kids. I think people that don't have kids find it a lot cuter. If you have kids of your own, I think everything your own child does is a lot cuter than someone else's kid probably. And also, if you have a kid of your own, you don't really want to be watching more of other people's kids. Probably, maybe that's just me. But I think if you don't have kids, or, you just want to watch something really light and fun, like it's so funny. They've basically got, they film it at their actual houses, so at the celebrities' houses, and they'll have like the cameramen like hiding in tents and playhouses. So like sometimes the kids just come up and have like really random conversations with like the people hiding in the tents who are filming them. I haven't watched it for years, but I remember thinking it was really, really cute at the time. So that is a really popular show. You will get a good sense for like a lot of I don't know, the way that Koreans parent their kids, I guess, the kind of foods that they feed them, the kind of activities they do with them, if any of that is of interest. I don't know, maybe there are some Koreans that are living overseas, or some people that are second generation Koreans, and they're wondering like how things are done back in Korea. That's a good kind of program that you can watch if you are trying to, I guess, incorporate any of those things into your own kids' lives. I know there are a lot of people that, maybe spent time growing up in Korea but have lived overseas for a long time and are kind of wanting to keep their kids connected with Korean culture. So this might be a show that gives you a couple of ideas. I'm not sure, but it's super cute. It is a very, very, very famous show. It has made celebrities of the people that were on it. Like, when I say that it is about celebrities, I think some people, when they first went on it, were more famous than others, and now some of them have just like totally blown up and are really, really, really famous. So yeah, that is a show to add to your list maybe if you want just like a little dose of kids doing cute things. It is The Return of Superman, and definitely there are so many episodes that I've seen that have English subtitles, so you won't need to worry about that. I'm sure there are plenty of clips floating around on TikTok and YouTube and things like that that you can probably watch if you just search for it. So that is my recommendation for the week, for just something a little bit cute and different. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and if you have, I would love it if you would leave your review. That would be really great. Until then, I will see you on Style Story.